All right, guys, welcome back to day 2, talking about the fight for equal rights and the civil rights movement. Okay, so yesterday we had a little bit of background into the civil rights movement, but today we are going to talk all about Dr. Martin Luther King, the man right here in this picture. This is a very information-heavy day, so make sure you are paying very close attention, okay? We can't really make a short day when we're talking about Martin Luther King. He did too many good things. All right, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the effort to get equal rights for people of all races is sometimes called the civil rights movement. The person most famous for increasing civil rights was, of course, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin didn't start out as Dr. King, the famous civil rights leader, okay? So that's how we know, obviously, Martin, oh my gosh, Martin, typo on my part, sorry guys. Martin Luther King, of course, was not always known as Dr. King and so famous for being the civil rights leader. He did not start out that way. He grew into that because of something that happened to when he was younger. So his interest in civil rights began when he was a really young boy and he was traveling on a train with his family, and a white family asked to be moved away from his family just because they were African American. Here is baby Dr. Martin Luther King. Well, I guess not a baby, but kid Dr. Martin Luther King. Segregation and discrimination. Discrimination is when you're treating unfairly due to your race, your gender, or your abilities. It was happening all over the country, not just in the South, okay? I think history kind of likes to portray that it only happened in the South. Because it was worse in the South, but it was happening all over the country, not just in the South. It was everywhere. Young Martin felt really insulted, which he should have, right? And he decided to dedicate his life to pulling down the curtains between his race and the rest of the country. So he kind of felt like there was like a barrier in between people of different races, and he wanted that to be down completely, as it should have been. He was most famous for his belief in nonviolent resistance. So he taught his followers not to fight back when they were attacked by police or mobs, because he believed that if they fought back, it would make it worse and would give them even more reason to treat them poorly. This policy worked really well for the civil rights cause. TV allowed the world to watch as the police set mean dogs on Dr. King's followers or washed them all the way down city streets with fire hoses. Okay, so the TV allowed the country to see how poorly African Americans were being treated. The TV also reported the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in 1963, which did tragically take the lives of 4 young African American girls who were just attending Sunday school there. All right, this is a picture of the aftermath of the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church, and these are the 4 sweet girls that unfortunately lost their lives. Despite these terrible acts, Dr. King's followers continued to gather together in huge crowds to peacefully protest against unfair segregation and discrimination laws. So even though terrible things were being done, they knew that they still had to fight for their cause, and they had to do it peacefully to get what they wanted accomplished. From 1955 to 1968, Dr. King's efforts changed the laws of our country, giving equal rights to all races. In 1964, he was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 35. The next year, he organized a march from Selma to Montgomery, but because they had not received official permission to march, the people were stopped by state troopers and more than 50 of them were injured. However, they did get permission for another march 2 weeks later because President Lyndon B. Johnson approved it, and he even sent federal troops to protect the marchers. So not only did he approve it, but he also sent extra help to make sure that they were protected as they were marching. Now, do you think that if they were not doing all of these things peacefully, that President Johnson would have supported their efforts? No, probably not, because it's really hard for leaders to support acts like that. Like, they can't really get behind it. So because they were doing all of this so peacefully, it really worked out to their benefit, because not only were they marching for the right reasons, but they had been doing it the right way, doing it peacefully, and it allowed them to get that exposure with the march and had the help to do it. 300 people walked from Selma to Montgomery, and once they got to Montgomery, 25,000 people joined them on Dexter Avenue to march to the state capitol. Okay, here is a picture of them marching. As you can see, it is not just African Americans. Here is a white gentleman, and here is another white gentleman. So as you can see, it was not just African Americans marching, it was people who all believed in what Dr. King was saying. And to give you an idea of how far they marched, here is Selma, here is Montgomery. That is a long march. Sadly, however, in 1968, an angry escaped convict did kill Dr. Martin Luther King in Memphis, Tennessee. However, the brave man changed our world forever. That is why we have a day to celebrate him and all of his amazing efforts. Because without Dr. King, I would not have all of my wonderful students, African American or white, in my classroom for me to teach. And I also wouldn't have some of my best friends. So Dr. Martin Luther King is definitely a man to be celebrated. So we do have a day for him, and though his life was tragically taken for him, his work has not stopped, and he has changed our world for the better. All right, guys, like I said, a lot of information today, but it is really hard to not say so many good things about Dr. Martin Luther King. So please make sure that if you need to review any of this while you're doing your assignment, that you pull it back up. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. I will see you on Thursday so we can wrap this week up.